So I'm Joey Boyens, and originally I'm from Kyron, Iowa, if you guys know where that is, not too far south of here. Went to school in Denison, and like Troy said, he was one of my coaches when I was about 11 years old, 12 years old, something like that. And so we've kind of reunited over the last year and love what he's doing up here in these small towns. And I'm in Des Moines now, so work with all these universities and all these kids and these schools that have a ton of money. And this is like being back home for me. So I've always wanted to come back here and help kids that don't have the same opportunities maybe as some of the bigger schools do down in the metros. So that's why we're here today. This is Janae Halstead. She's been with me for 15 years now working, and she does a lot of the girls' wrestling plans for us. So we started a company down in Des Moines called Ekin Nutrition, and we do weight loss and weight gain for every walk of life, whether you're just an average person or an athlete. You guys can come on in. Yep, you want to give them a paper? And over, like Troy said, over the last 9 years, we came up with a system for weight management for wrestlers. And I've been doing this for about 13 years with wrestlers and just started noticing that we were losing a lot of good athletes because of the process, because of the drastic weight cuts they were making for no reason, doing it the wrong way, not feeling their bodies correctly. And wrestling gets to be a long season when you do that. And I'm sure as parents, you've all experienced your kids probably being in a pretty bad mood when they're trying to make weight, maybe grades go down a little bit, that sort of thing. And so if you feel in your body the right way, you can overcome a lot of those things and make the sport a lot more enjoyable. So that's what we started doing. How this started is I worked with a kid privately that was going to Grandview, and he was a decent wrestler. And after I worked with him for a year, he won a national championship for Grandview. And so Coach Mitchell down there called me up and asked if I'd work with the whole team. And I said, you've won 4 national championships in a row, so I don't really want that kind of pressure. You obviously know what you're doing. And he's like, hey, if we're not moving forward, everybody's catching us. And so this gives you a huge advantage. If you understand the nutrition aspect, if you're wrestling someone, I always say this, we're always doing the same thing. Everybody's practicing, everybody is lifting weights, everybody is making weight, but the one thing a lot of kids don't know how to do is nutrition, and the parents don't either. Most of us have told our kids from day one, hey, cut weight like I used to do, or manage your weight like I used to do, and we all did it the wrong way, right? So we were chewing tobacco, spitting in bottles so we wouldn't swallow our own saliva, all sorts of craziness, right? And so that's what we've completely gone away with. So today I'm gonna give you guys 4 rules I really want you to focus on and concentrate on. Like Coach said, we have that company down in Des Moines where we have an InBody 570 machine. I have Olympic wrestlers, I have college wrestlers, world wrestlers, I have pretty much every walk of wrestler that you can get to now. So, but I really love helping the high school kids. So, first thing we're getting into today is water, okay? So, water is important for multiple reasons, but the main reason is that you have to have water in your body to hold glycogen. Glycogen is your gas tank, okay? You get glycogen from the carbs that we eat. So the 3 things I need you to understand is that protein is going to be your metabolism, keeping your metabolism going, maintaining your muscle mass, that sort of thing. Carbs is going to be your gas tank. So the more carbs we can get in your body and we can get you to hold without putting on bad weight, you're going to have more endurance, more energy during your match, okay? So that's the key there. A lot of times kids cut their stuff back way too early in the season to maintain their weight, and all they do is cut their gas tanks back. So our motto is always we want to be peaking at the end of the season instead of being depleted. That makes sense, right? So a lot of times, as you guys know, as the season goes on, we start out really strong, but then we start wearing down, just making weight cuts the wrong way, managing our weight the wrong way, and by the time we get to the end of the season, when it really matters, we're already depleted, and then kids that we were beating or handling really well, they start catching up to us, and it's not because they got better at wrestling and we got worse, it's just because our bodies are getting worn down. So that's what we're trying to prevent. So water is a huge thing. It's going to lubricate your joints. It's going to also give you an advantage when, like I said, holding that glycogen. Not to be nerdy here, but it takes 3 molecules of water to hold 1 molecule of glycogen. So the second you start bringing your water down, you start automatically bring your gas tank down. There's always 3 boxes you have to check with wrestling, right? You have to have wrestling ability. You got that with a great coach here. Then you have to have a gas tank, and then you have to have strength and power, right? So anyone that's wrestled knows that sooner or later, even if you're a strong wrestler, someone's going to catch up with you. You're going to meet someone stronger than you. So what do you got to do? Take them in the late rounds, outlast them, push the pace so they get tired and you don't, right? Same thing, if you have a person that has a gas tank, you want to be stronger than them. So we can help you check the box with the strength and conditioning, and then coach takes care of the wrestling ability, okay? So when we're talking about water, my number 1 rule if you're working with us is always out of the gate, a gallon of water a day, period, okay? Now for some of the younger kids, some of the younger wrestlers, you at least need to be getting 1 ounce of water per pound of body weight, okay? So if you're a 100-pound wrestler, you should be getting at least 100 ounces of water a day. And again, that's to hold the glycogen. When we're holding glycogen, we're going to add carbs in there, okay? So when we're talking about carb content, there's two different kinds of carbs. There's simple carbs and there's complex carbs, okay? Do you guys know the difference between those at all? Anybody? Yes.
Simple carbs break down easy.
Exactly right, yes. Simple carbs break down really, really quickly in your body, right? So when you consume them, automatically they get in your bloodstream and they start raising your gas tank back up. So when we're going to be competing on those days, we're going to switch to simple carbs, okay? So if you got a tournament or you got a duel coming up, we're going to get away from the complex carbs, which are going to be your oatmeal, your sweet potatoes, your brown rice. Anything that has fiber in it is basically going to be a complex carb. Those are great for your training days. Eat those all the time. But when we go into our weight management days and our competition days, we switch to simple carbs, okay? So let's say, when do you guys mostly have duels? Thursdays? Is that?
We wrestle a lot. Girls wrestle a lot on Mondays, actually.
Mondays?
And Friday, Saturdays.
Mondays, Fridays, Saturdays. So you guys got boom, boom, boom.
A couple Tuesday, Thursdays, but not many.
Okay.
It seems like because the reason we do that referee situation in Iowa is not great. There's only so many referees. So Tuesday, Thursdays is boy dates.
Yep.
So we tend to be Monday, Friday.
Okay. So basically what we would do is 2 days before you're going to be competing is when we're going to switch to simple carbs, okay? And you guys can take notes on that paper we got or whatever, but 2 days before you guys are going to compete, we're going to switch from complex carbs to simple carbs. So all your training days, oatmeal is great for breakfast, sweet potatoes are called a super carb, so they're really good for you guys to load up on your glycogen levels, all that stuff. But when we're 2 days out from competing, we're switching to simple carbs and then the day of. The other thing we're going to do on those days is we're going to start cutting our fats back, okay? So like she said, those carbs absorb really quickly, but when you put a bunch of fats in your body, whether it's peanut butter or avocado, it doesn't even matter if it's healthy fats. If it's fat, it's going to slow down the absorption of the carbs, okay? So on your weight management days, on your competition days, we're bringing those carbs down. How many of you guys, like when you go to a tournament, pack peanut butter sandwiches, something like that? Most everybody, right? That's a go-to. Get rid of the peanut butter. Peanut butter is a fat. It's going to slow down those carbs from going into your system really quickly and reloading in between your matches, all right? That's the crucial part. You want to reload your gas tank right away in between your matches, okay? So that's the importance of your water. The other thing with the water is that if you're drinking an ounce per pound of body weight, if we ever have to go old school, say we got a little crazy on the weekend and we have to wrestle on Monday, we know that we can sweat some of that back out. You have a little bit of an insurance policy there if we have to go a little bit old school, okay? And again, like Coach said, the object for us is to not really be cutting weight. Most of my athletes now are going up a weight class. And if you've noticed this with like UFC or with any kind of professional sports, everybody is going up a weight class because really it makes no sense to cut two people at the same weight down to a lower weight so they compete at a lesser level and then see who's better, right? It becomes just who can cut the most weight at that point. And that's not what this sport is about. When you guys are out here practicing and you have to think about your weight, you're not getting better on the mat, right? When you come in here, you should be talking to coach, doing technique, doing drills, getting better. But the second you have to start turning into a weight loss session, you're not getting better on the mat. You're constantly thinking about your weight. And so that's what we do is we help you manage your weight. When we're talking about managing your weight, you girls and guys in high school should maintain about 3% over your wrestling weight, okay? So let's say we have a 100-pound wrestler in here, that someone's wrestling 100 pounds. You guys should be waking up no heavier than 103 pounds, okay? Now, during the day, you're going to get heavier because you're going to be drinking your water, you're going to be eating and all that stuff, right? But as you get your metabolism going, you're going to burn that off during the day and overnight while you're sleeping. Your float's going to increase and your weight loss at practice is going to increase. And so that's really important. And the way we get that to happen is by increasing your metabolism, okay? So I always compare metabolism to a campfire, okay? How many of you, when you have to drop weight, do you automatically start cutting your calories, not eating, stop drinking water? Honestly. Most everybody, right? Okay. If you do this the right way, you're going to increase your calories the entire season. You're going to keep going up and up and up. When you have to lose weight, you're going to increase calories to lose more weight, okay? I know it's counterintuitive and it doesn't make a lot of sense, but when you get your metabolism going, that's how it works, okay? And the way we get our metabolism going is eating every 3 to 4 hours, okay? That's the next rule. So first one is water, okay? Next one is going to be eating every 3 to 4 hours, okay? When we're eating every 3 to 4 hours, a couple things happen. You increase your metabolism a bunch, and like I said, I compare this to a campfire. So your metabolism is the fire inside of you burning the weight off you, right? It also burns muscle and it burns fat, so we have to be careful about getting the macros in so we don't burn too much muscle and we're just burning into the body fat, correct? So the big thing here is when you're at a campfire, every 3 or 4 hours, you got to throw a log on that fire to keep that fire burning really hot, right? Makes sense? Okay? But how many of you eat breakfast in the morning? 1, Two kids, right? What time do most of you eat dinner? 7 o'clock, 6:30? And then you don't have another meal, so you eat at 7:30 at night, and then we go all the way around until probably lunchtime. And I'm guessing most of you eat school lunch, which that'll be a whole nother topic that we get into, which is absolutely terrible for you. Most of my wrestlers bring their own lunch because if they're going to manage their weight, they actually need protein and they can't have so much fat and sodium. But the goal is every 3 to 4 hours. And if you guys are eating dinner at, say, 7 o'clock, missing breakfast, and then going all the way to lunch, what's that put us at, Janae? 12, 5, 17 hours. 17 hours that you've gone without. So think about a campfire. If you don't put a log on that campfire for 17 hours, what's going to happen? It's going to go out, right? Your metabolism is going to be shut down. It's going to stop. So when you're going to try and lose weight, how many of you had that issue where you can't lose that last 1 or 2 pounds? It just will not come off because your body goes into conservation mode because we cut our calories back way too soon. So in order to build that fire, every 3 or 4 hours, we've got to throw a log on it, eat a meal, okay? That doesn't mean that you have to make 6 meals a day, okay? We want to have 3 whole meals a day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then we're going to throw snacks in between there. So let's say, what time do you guys mostly get up? About 7 o'clock for school, somewhere in there, usually, right? So let's say we have breakfast at 7 o'clock, and then about 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, somewhere 3 hours later, we're going to throw a protein shake in there and a decent carb, okay? Snack carbs are kind of hard to get and make them decent, but that sheet in front of you I'm going to explain about carbs right now. We're going to follow a sugar rule, which is called the 20% sugar rule, okay? As long as you're following that, you're going to be okay in your carbs. Everybody's like, what's a good carb, what's a bad carb? All we really care about during the wrestling season is sugar. If you get too much sugar in your body, A, your calories go way up, it's hard to manage your weight. B, and it causes a lot of inflammation in your body, which we're trying to keep out during the season, okay? So on that sheet you guys have in front of you, there's 2 products on there. I want you guys to do this when you go home tonight and look at a lot of the foods that you have in your pantry or in your cupboards, okay? And if we're talking about the 20% rule, we're looking to make sure that all the sugar is less than 20% of the total carbs in whatever you're eating, okay? So that very first one up on the very top, I might need one of those to look at.
Can we hold it for you?
Sure. Okay, so this first one, nutrition facts. If we look at the total carbs, you guys see it's got 27 carbs in there, right? We want to make sure that 20% or less of that is coming from sugar, okay? So who's good at math? Who's our math whiz here?
Everybody looks at me.
All right, I'll make it simple for you. So total carbs, if we're taking 10% of that, you drop a decimal point in there, right? It'd be 2.7. Double it would be 20%, so it'd be 5.4, right? So you go down and look at the sugar, and there's 3 grams of sugar in here, so this would be okay to eat, that we could go ahead and have that. That's not going to be a problem. You go down to the one below it and look at it. We got 19 total carbs there, so how much sugar could that have to be okay? 10% of 19 would be 1.9, right? Double it would be 3.8. But if you go down and look at the sugar, it's 17 grams. So 17 of those 19 carbs are coming from sugar. Way too much. But if I came in here and said, what's healthier for your kid to eat, or what's healthier for you guys to eat, yogurt or an Eggo waffle, you're probably going to say yogurt, right? But from a sugar perspective, no way. So if you guys can start going through your foods and getting those sugars dialed back, follow that 20% rule, guarantee you'll automatically drop 3 or 4 pounds just from paying attention to that sugar, okay? Then inflammation's a whole nother thing. The more sugar that we have, the more your inflammation's going to go up. And again, as the season goes on, that's the biggest problem kids have is their inflammation keeps rising, okay? There's 2 kinds of water in your body. There's intracellular and there's extracellular. Intracellular water is the water that goes into your muscle that you can use for strength, endurance, and energy. So when you drink water and eat rice, potatoes, that sort of thing, it's going to store in your muscle and you can use it for endurance. The extracellular water is the inflammation in your body. It's the Skittles, the cookies, the donuts, that sort of thing. That water sits in between your skin and your muscle, and you can't do anything with it. It starts building up inflammation in your body. You start to lose recovery time, all that stuff. And so if you follow this 20% rule, it's going to take care of that pretty much in the most part for you guys, okay? Does that make sense? All you guys? Okay. So when we're talking about carbs, the one thing I want you to understand, if you're working with me, we have a whole process. So we put you on an in-body scale, which is what they use at the Olympic training centers. We measure your waters, your inflammation, your body fat percentage, all sorts of different things, how much muscle mass is on your body, and we set goals for you. I can tell you how much muscle you need on your body at each weight class, how much fat you need in your body for each weight class to be successful and get on the podium at the end of the season, okay? Like Coach said, we ended up last year was the 100th anniversary of the state tournament, and we had 100 state qualifiers. It was the most that we ever had. We had 75 the year before, had 100 last year, so we're really proud of that. That's one of my favorite accomplishments, actually. It's kind of neat. And so if you follow these rules, you will get there, okay? Now, where Where do you want to go with that?
Weight tracking.
Weight tracking. One of the biggest things that you guys can do to help your whole season is start tracking your weights right now. If you need a weight chart from us, Coach can send me an email and I can send them to you guys. It's just a really simple spreadsheet. You can do it on your own. But knowing what you guys are losing overnight and knowing what you're losing at a practice is super important to know what you should be walking around at every day, okay? Some of my kids lose 11 pounds in a practice. I have high school wrestlers that will lose 11 pounds in a practice. I have some kids that lose 4 pounds in a practice, right? I have some kids that float 3 pounds overnight. I have other kids that float a half a pound overnight. The goal is to let the food work for you. When you get that metabolism, when you get that fire going really hot and burning, right? Burning the fat off your body, then you can eat a lot more food. And so the higher that flame gets, the more wood we have to throw in that fire to make it burn hot, right? So when we're talking about carbs, I would like you guys to start, again, depending on weight class, but I'd like you to really start at about 150 to 200 carbs a day, okay? And when you do that, you're gonna measure your weight and we're gonna start watching your weight. And if it starts creeping up, we know that that's probably a ceiling for your carbs. But what I want you to do is add 25 or 50 carbs every week, okay? Again, carbs is our gas tank, so we're gonna see how many carbs we can get in your body without putting bad weight on. If I get you up to 300 carbs a day and you're not putting any weight on, right? And you wrestle a kid that has 100 carbs in them, your gas tank is already 3 times the size as what theirs is, okay? And that's the key. My kids literally will do laps around the mat. If there is a break in the match, if there's an injury, a blood timeout, any of that stuff, my guys are moving. They're constantly moving. It gets in the opponent's head, and they just know this kid's not tired. You look across the mat, you're like, oh my gosh, that kid's not even breathing hard yet, right? And so when we can do that, you're not ever gonna have to worry about your gas tank. You can wrestle as hard as you want to, as hard as you can, as fast as you can, and nobody will be able to keep up with you. But you gotta get your carbs up to where they're going. Now, that being said, when we're managing weight, okay? So we raise carbs, we put on a half a pound or a pound of extra weight. We know that's our ceiling, that's our limit. We're stopping right there. Now, when we go to make weight, we never wanna manage weight more than 2 days out from a competition, okay? So if you're heavier and you can't make weight after 2 days of cutting your calories back a little bit, you're probably at the wrong weight class. Doesn't make any sense to build muscle mass off, then have to burn it back off all the time to make weight for a match. If you guys are working that hard in the weight room and you put muscle on, don't you wanna wrestle at the weight that you should be at for that kind of muscle, right? So I don't want you to stop lifting, I don't want you to start working out. If you go up in muscle mass, we go up a weight class and our gas tank's gonna be good enough and our power is gonna be good enough to stay there, okay? If you gotta cut for more than 2 days, and I know we don't like saying cut, but if you gotta manage your weight for more than 2 days, you're probably at the wrong weight class, okay? When we do start managing weight, I don't want you to cut your water back, okay? So the first day of your weight management, you're gonna still drink your gallon of water or that 1 ounce per pound of body weight that you're drinking. The second day of your weight management, if our weight's not where we want to be at, that's when you can cut back to probably half of that, okay? So if you're drinking a gallon, that's 120 ounces, you cut that back to 64, and a half a gallon is still a lot of water to drink on a weight management day, but that's the key, is keeping that water in your body, okay? If you're waking up 3% over your wrestling weight, you shouldn't have any issue getting down there. If you're getting your 6 meals a day, that shouldn't be an issue either. That's where we started talking about the 6 meals a day. So I want you to eat breakfast, lunch, dinner, okay? Breakfast can be something really simple. Be consistent for the first week that you guys are watching your foods, okay? So like if you're going to try something, do like 3 eggs and some oatmeal, that would be a perfect breakfast. And then about, like I said, 10 o'clock, you're gonna do a protein shake with maybe some graham crackers or some goldfish, something like that they'll let you do in school, something easy. We brought protein, we'll talk about supplements in a second. Then you're gonna do your lunch, preferably like 3 to 4 ounces of protein. It's like a turkey sandwich and some baked chips would be perfect. Doesn't have to be anything fancy, nothing special, right? Then at nighttime, we're probably gonna go with like a chicken and a rice. But about 3 o'clock when you get out of school, you're gonna have another one of those protein shakes and some more graham crackers or something like that to keep you fueled up, okay? I went to my nephew, he plays football for Denison, and I went to his middle school match, and she was with me, and we're watching these kids out there with no energy, no focus, and my niece was sitting beside me. She weighs 55 pounds. She's in elementary school. And I was like, what'd you have for lunch today, honey? And she's like, 4 chicken nuggets, some green beans, and some milk, whatever. And so when my nephew got done playing, he weighs 165 pounds. I said, what did you have for lunch? 4 chicken nuggets, green beans, and whatever she had. It didn't even hit me until then. They never increase your school lunch from the time you're in elementary school, 6 years old, till the time you're in high school. You get the same amount of food. Yet your coaches expect you to come in after school with 0 nutrition in your body and give 100%, right? It's impossible. You have no fuel, and especially for you that don't eat breakfast. And so eating every 3 to 4 hours when you do that, it's gonna increase your metabolism, but it's also going to increase your output on the mat, okay? When your body eats every 3 or 4 hours, it never holds on to anything. It never goes into conservation mode because it knows in 3 or 4 hours I'm going to get more food, right? So when you come out here on the mat, your body never holds on to anything. If you're only eating once or twice a day, in your mind you might think you're giving 100% on the mat, and you might be, but your body will not release that energy because it's like, heck, I might not get food for another 8 hours, so I have to hold on to this to survive, right? Okay. The next thing that we're going to talk about is how much protein to actually put in your body, okay? Girls, you should be at about 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight during the wrestling season. And again, we're going to try and increase that as we go up, or as the season goes on. We're going to keep trying to increase calories. Boys, you should be at least at probably 1 to 1.25 pounds of protein per pound of body weight, okay? And that's just everything we do is really customized. I find out exactly, I can tell you down to the gram how much you need, but just a good rule of thumb starting out, that would be a good place for you guys all to start if you're not working with me, okay? I can't really talk about muscle mass because is there any in-body scales around here? Have you looked into it at all?
I think BV might have one.
BV has one? Okay, so if you guys ever get a chance to go up to BV and use their in-body machine, I highly would recommend it. If you guys get that scan for me, just keep the copy of it. And since you work with Troy, I will have a phone call with you. I will go over your numbers and explain what all those numbers mean and the goals that we're trying to set for you guys to be at, okay? Those machines are really important. Normally, I don't like electrical impedance scales, but these are within 1% accuracy. Like I said, they use them at the Olympic Training Center, and that's what you need for the sport of wrestling, honestly, okay? The next thing that we're going to talk about a little bit is going to be supplements. How many of you take supplements currently? Anybody? What are you taking right now? Creatine? Okay. So creatine is a great supplement for kids to take if you can maintain your weight and not have trouble losing it, okay? So that's going to add about an extra 7 pounds of water for a guy, about an extra 3 to 4 pounds of water, and it's going to be intracellular water. It's going to be for the gas tank, right? So it's a good thing to take, but if you're dropping 4 or 5 pounds to make weight and you can't, it's probably because of the creatine. So be careful with that. If you're really good on weight and you can actually gain some and go up, go ahead and start creatine, 5 grams a day. But I want to explain how creatine works. Everybody thinks creatine just puts muscle mass on you. It does not. What it does is it stores water in your body, your gas tank. It's going to hold water there. And so then instead of being able to do maybe 10 reps of a certain weight, you can do 13 because you have more energy in your body, which then in turn is going to build the muscle, okay? But creatine is actually going to be for endurance and for your gas tank. But there's 4 things that wrestlers usually take that work with me. Number 1 is going to be a good protein shake, okay? So if you're not taking a protein shake now and we're trying to get those 6 meals in a day, you need a jug of this to bring into school. These are very small shakes. It's about 4 ounces of water is all you need, and it's 30 grams of protein. I am very cautious. I've had a nutrition store for 18 years. Whew. It's a long time. That just kind of hit me. 18 years that I've had a nutrition store, and there's probably 90% of the brands out there are junk, okay? If you're buying your protein at Walmart or somewhere like that, I'm telling you right now, it's crap. Don't even waste your time or your money on it, okay? So when we're looking at protein, first thing I want you guys to look at is the label, okay? Up here, some of them are going to say supplement facts, some are going to say nutrition facts. You want to get the one that says nutrition facts, okay? The reason why is that the FDA has looked at this, and it has to meet label claims. Every supplement that has supplement facts up there, they can put whatever they want on that label, and it does not matter. How many of you heard of muscle milk? Most of you? Okay. So muscle milk in a container like this, 52% of the container is filler. 48% of it is actual protein. So we're putting a bunch of crap into our bodies that actually slows our metabolism down, causes inflammation, has heavy metals, all sorts of things, right? So like I said, there's only maybe 10% of the companies out there that are legit and really, really good. We've done this for 18 years, so I have it narrowed down to the ones that are good. So if you have a question about that, again, reach out to me. Not saying you have to buy it from us. I brought a bunch because every time we go to these things, everybody's like, did you bring some stuff for us? So we have flavors and stuff. We can talk about that later. But nutrition facts is number 1. Next thing you're going to do is down here, you're going to see what the serving size is, okay? So in 1 scoop, there's 37 grams of powder. We're going to go down and see how much of that powder is actual protein. So out of 37 grams, 30 of that is actual protein. That means 87% of this container is protein, and the only thing that's filler in here is the stuff they have to make it stick together so it doesn't go bad, okay? So 87% is the highest I've ever seen. It's a really, really good one, but pay attention to that when you're looking at protein labels, all right? So this would be perfect for your snacks. At bedtime, I'm going to give you guys 3 options for your bedtime snack, okay? So since most of you don't eat breakfast, that nighttime snack is almost like taking a fat burner before you go to bed at night, okay? There's 3 things you can have. You can either have, how many of you like cottage cheese? Most of you? That is the perfect thing to have. If you have a half a cup of cottage cheese before you go to bed at night, it's going to keep your metabolism going. The reason why, it's a slow burning protein, so it breaks down really slowly in your body. So technically, if we had dinner at 7 o'clock and then we're waking up at 7, there's 12 hours there, right? We're technically missing 3 to 4 meals in that time span. When you eat cottage cheese, it's going to break down really slowly for about 7 hours, so it keeps your metabolism going, so you're going to float more overnight. Okay, does that make sense? The other 2 is going to be a protein shake that has casein protein in it. That's what cottage cheese is casein protein. Or you can do eggs at nighttime. Eggs are another slow breaking down protein. Okay, there's only 2 proteins that are 100% absorbable in your body. Whey protein, if you ingest 10 grams of it, you're going to absorb 10 grams of it. Eggs, if you eat 10 grams of protein in eggs, you're going to absorb 10 grams of protein. Why is that important? Because in wrestling, we want to get the most nutrients out of the least amount of food to keep our body weight down, right? So eggs are one of the best things that you can eat. Now, say we're eating eggs all morning during our training days and we got to keep our fats down going into competition. What do? We switch to egg whites. Take the yolks out. You get more food that way, but it keeps the fats down and you're still getting your protein in. Okay, so those are the 3 things that you can have at nighttime. If you don't like cottage cheese, this is how Janae got me to eat cottage cheese because I hate it. I can't stand it. You take a big, how many of you like cheesecake? Oh man, not very many. I thought usually everybody puts their hands up. So what you do is you take a thing of, well now there's whipped cottage cheese, right? Yeah. There's whipped cottage cheese that doesn't have the curds, the chunks in it. That's what I can't do. But if you just get normal cottage cheese, dump it into a blender, go get a package of sugar-free cheesecake pudding mix, dump that in there with it, a little bit of milk and blend it until it's smooth. It's like cheesecake batter, and then you use graham crackers for the carb at night. It's like having dessert when you go to bed, and it's actually healthy for you, okay? So if you have an issue with cottage cheese, that's one way you can do it. We have all kinds of tricks like this. It's also a really good snack to bring to tournaments with you. So if you're on a tournament day and you're trying to figure out what to eat, if you bring a bowl of that with you and some graham crackers, you can have that in between your matches, and you're going to feel pretty good. And we'll give you some list of other things that you can do for that as well. So that's going to be your protein. The next one is going to be super carb, and this is everybody's favorite. So most of you after weigh-ins, whether it's a duel or a tournament, whatever, have to rehydrate, right? Most of you probably are using Gatorade, or how are you? Pedialyte, Gatorades, Powerades, or what a lot of people do. This is a different product altogether. This is everybody's favorite, okay? You will never drink Gatorade again. So all the football teams, we work with Northwest, Dowling, Johnston, all the high schools down there. And instead of Gatorade on their sidelines now in the football, they use super carb, okay? The reason why is this has the right amount of electrolytes in it with no sugar, and there's a product in here called cluster dextrin. Cluster dextrin is a carb that goes right into your bloodstream, okay? And so it reloads your glycogen or your gas tank in between your matches immediately or right when you get off of the scale after a weigh-in. And it has all your electrolytes, and then this cluster dextrin reloads your gas tank. So Gatorade does not have that. This is the crazy part. Gatorade, how do I want to say this? Schools can't even sell Gatorade legally. That's how bad Gatorade is for you. It's not even a legitimate product that you can sell in a school. This you can, Gatorade you can't, but Gatorade gives a lot of money to a lot of schools, and so they get the break that nobody else gets. But this will not, there's no insulin response in this, so you won't have a spike from a sugar high or a crash from it. It just is a nice constant energy, especially when we're a little bit low on carbs or we're managing our weight. This is a really good thing to have before practices. Whenever you would basically drink a Gatorade, you can have one of these and you're not going to gain any weight from it, but it's going to reload your gas tank, okay? There's a bunch of different flavors. This one's raspberry lemonade. Janae makes some pancakes out of this, so if you get tired of drinking so much of this, she makes pancakes. They're like crepes. You can take these and have them between matches.
We just posted that too. There's a recipe. So we have a Facebook page, our regular Facebook page. If you're not on Facebook, you can still get to it, but there's one called Ekin Eats also. And I just posted that recipe again because it's wrestling season. But this, honestly, girls especially, easy on your stomach. Like if you don't eat before practice, drink this. Like it's a lifesaver.
Yep.
Any sport. I have swimmers, cross country, like anything you're doing a lot, even like bending, like it's a great product.
Yeah, this is a staple, okay? The next one, have you guys heard of beta-alanine? I know you have. Beta-alanine, okay? Beta-alanine is an amino acid. It stops your lactic acid from building up, and it delays fatigue, okay? It is so good that the NCAA tried to ban it only in the sport of wrestling about 16, 17 years ago. They said it was a performance-enhancing drug, which is crazy. And it's amino acid, you get it in meat and a lot of the foods that you eat. And so they had to get rid of that. Now they've completely done a 180. The second you get out to the Olympic Training Center, they put you on beta-alanine because it's so effective for delaying fatigue, okay? It puts oxygen into your blood, so it's good for a lot of things. You take 1 scoop of it about 20 to 30 minutes before you work out. It's the product, like if you guys have ever taken a pre-workout, kind of makes your hair tingle, kind of makes you feel flush, almost like you have needles in your fingertips a little bit. That's just a side effect. It doesn't mean you're allergic to it or anything. It means it's working. But it takes 8 weeks to fully load into your system. And so you should start taking it right now, honestly. You'll notice the effects of it right away, but after 8 weeks, it's fully into your system when we get into the second half of the season. After we get our allowances and everything, we should be good, okay? So beta-alanine is really important. The last one is going to be a product called glutamine, and we don't have that here, but glutamine is responsible for recovery and repair. It's what 60% of your skeletal muscle mass is made up of, okay? And after you guys work out for 30 minutes, 50% of your glutamine levels are depleted, okay? It is probably the #1 supplement because you can't eat it. All this other stuff you could eat if you wanted to eat 6 times a day and have that many meals, you could get it through food. Glutamine you cannot, okay? So it's going to take away your soreness. You're going to recover faster. It's in charge of your immune system. How many of you guys catch colds or flus a lot of times during the wrestling season, right? We go out with wet heads after practice. We're probably cutting our food back a little bit the wrong way, so your immune system tends to drop. So when you take this, or if you get a little bit of an injury, you just double up on the dosage of it, and you're good to go. Super, super cheap. All this stuff is. Maybe not the protein and the super carbs so much, but the beta and the glutamine, it's like $30 and it's going to last you the whole season, and it will be a game changer for you if you want to take it. Completely safe and healthy. It's everything that I would give to my kids. I'm very cautious about this. If you guys are taking supplements and it's not one of those 4, you should ask a nutritionist or someone that knows what they're talking about, because just because your friend might be taking it doesn't mean you need to. Most kids get upset with me because I talk them out of more supplements than I do into. They come in and want to get something. I'm like, you don't need that, right? So keep it simple, keep it safe, keep it effective, but know what you're putting into your body at all times, okay? What else do you want to talk about?
I want to go back to the weight tracking, because especially for the girls, like, it's so important. I think that was the biggest eye-opener for me, was when I started doing the wrestling meal plans, was tracking weight, how it clicked for me. So I know the girls I work with, when they start realizing how much they lose overnight, how much they lose at practice, it makes a big difference on how they're going to make weight. So a lot of times, I do have some, we don't usually work with kids under 14, but I have a couple 12 and 13-year-old girls, and they're very stressed about their weight, and I know that's just a natural response, probably in general. I know guys get stressed too, but we usually have a game plan with how much we're losing, half pound, quarter pound, a whole pound. So the tracking, like he said, track your morning weight before practice, after practice, and at bedtime, because that is huge. And then if you, like the way we do it is like in a Google sheet, so it automatically calculates what you're losing at practice and overnight. But that makes a big difference to see. We also use it because we know when you're cutting your water back too soon or cutting your food back. Because when you stop losing, it's because you're not putting anything in. If you don't put any food or water in, you're not going to get anything out. So girls, especially when you're doing the tracking, I like to add an extra column for how you're feeling. If you're super tired, if you notice that your energy is low, if your period's coming, that's what you need to pay attention to, because then competition comes, or even if you're not getting your period all of a sudden, because a lot of times I have girls that happens in the season where maybe you're depleting yourself too much. Little things that you can do for girls, pumpkin seeds are really great for just energy levels. Eating steak first day of your period, do that. That will help a ton to help your iron levels throughout. Because that's another thing we get asked about a lot. We actually don't even buy or supply iron in our store because it's kind of something you don't want to mess with. You can get enough iron out of your food. If you're not eating enough food, then that's really the problem, okay? You shouldn't have to get an infusion or have to supplement iron. So that's something you want to be very, very careful with. So the tracking is huge. It's very, very important to do. One thing also to kind of go over a little bit, which I will do that part now, what you should eat competitions, okay? So 1 to 2 hours before you're competing, like the super carb we talked about, that is great off the scale. So you weigh in, this is a really light, easy thing to have. If you're 3 to 4 hours out from competition, you can eat a little bit more, but also it's good to go to the mat hungry, okay? Not necessarily starving, we want to put some fuel back in after you've weighed in, but we want to make sure that we're keeping our fats low and that we're not overdoing that, because like you talked about the peanut butter, so anything, cheese and peanut butter are fats, they are not proteins, okay? That's one of the big things to try and get people to understand. It is not our primary source of protein, so I call it like a secondary protein. It's fine in moderation, but not for competition. So we want to make sure we keep our fats low. So we do simple things like a tortilla with, I usually tell people there's something called Laughing Cow cheese. It's like a really low, it's like a little triangle. Put that on the tortilla, put some turkey on there, like about 2 ounces. Roll it up, you can cut it in little slices if you want, or just eat that. That's a good idea. The, what's it called? Hawaiian rolls. Hawaiian roll, 2 ounces of turkey on that. Eat one of those. I had a girl I was working with, made weight beautifully. Performance was not great because she ate about 6 of those after she waited. So you need to, again, go to the mat a little hungry. Give yourself some nourishment, but then don't overeat. Keep your citrus fruits out of the situation, okay? So oranges, pineapple, limit the apples, but we want to stick more with berries because those have more fiber and antioxidants, and
Or
those are going to
bananas.
help more with like recovering and keeping that inflammation down in your body. And bananas would be okay too. So the kinds of things like packing your cooler for competition, you need to think lower fat, moderate amount of sugar. So a lot of times we get people saying they want like honey or things like that, which is fine for competition, but don't overdo those things. Sugar is the one thing that we always get asked. If I could cut anything out of my diet, what would it be? It's sugar. That's for anyone and athletes as well. But we need a certain amount, and that's where that 20% rule comes in huge. Okay?
Grapes be okay?
Would
Yes.
what?
Grapes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
That was the biggest thing that we had issues with wrestling teams because they pack coolers and again, everybody thinks they're doing the right thing, but until you start figuring this stuff out, so your citric fruits, your apples, your oranges, your pineapple, that sort of thing, full of acidity. So everyone that's wrestled here has had their arms get heavy, legs get heavy, and acid buildup, right? So when you eat this other stuff, it's going to stop that from happening, or at least help that from being such an issue, okay?
Stick to, I usually like to, he's gluten-free now, so actually that has really opened up a lot of
Thanks for sharing that.
my thought process on like foods, because it really makes more sense for wrestlers too. So think like rice things, so like rice checks, Cheerios, like to snack on, things like that. We even do like graham crackers, which they don't quite follow the 20% rule, but they're close enough. Wheat thins, things like that. Like another easy thing is applesauce, those little squeezies.
Rice cakes.
Rice cakes, but avoid like Go-Gurt, okay? Because obviously it's loaded with sugar. So we want to have like most likely a Greek yogurt, Too Good yogurt, Chobani, those kinds of things that have less sugar in them. But keep it simple. Like, we have not reinvented the wheel. We can give you suggestions. I can send you some of the sheets that I give to the teams for packing coolers,
We will.
things like
We'll
that.
send you. So we have 2 sheets. One is going to be what to do after weigh-ins, and one's going to be if you have an hour between matches, 2 hours between matches, 3 hours between matches, and it gives you ideas of what to eat in between those. Okay. She mentioned a couple times, if you heard her say 2 ounces of turkey, that sort of thing. The reason why is you guys, if you have an early morning practice or you're going to wrestle, you don't want more than 20 grams of protein in your stomach. Okay. If you, which is going to be 3 ounces or less of protein. Okay. If you do that, if you consume that, your blood flow goes to your stomach for life processes first, and that's when you start getting upset stomach, don't feel good, feel sluggish, okay? That's because your blood flow goes there. And we want our blood flow to be going to our muscle to shuttle that glycogen, our gas tank, back to our muscles, right? So in between matches, every 2 to 3 hours, you can have 2 ounces to 3 ounces of protein, depending on your weight class, but you don't want any more than that. Like she said, you should be walking on the mat a little bit hungry. You should never walk on there full. I know it's tempting, and I know when you're making weight, you're really hungry with a scale, and you're like, oh, I'm going to be 5 more pounds when I get on that scale. But you know what? It's just 5 pounds of food sitting in your stomach. It's not 5 pounds of muscle. It's not 5 pounds of anything useful. It's just sitting in your stomach, okay? So if you're eating healthy, continue to eat healthy in your competition days. And then I want everyone to have 1 cheat meal a week, okay? And when I say cheat meal, that means you can have anything you want to. There is no rules on it. I would prefer there has some sugar, okay? So when we're hitting that 20% rule, and our sugars are level all week long, when you spike it a little bit for one day, it increases your insulin, and you're gonna burn a bunch of weight off you. How many of you guys have got what they call the meat sweats or whatever, like when you eat a bunch of food and you get really hot all of a sudden, right? That's the same thing that's gonna happen when you have a little bit of sugar. It's gonna spike your insulin, and you're gonna actually float a couple more pounds overnight than you would have. So, a couple little tricks. If you guys this only works if you're following the 20% rule, okay? So the night before a weigh-in, if you guys have a couple bites of ice cream or a little bit of honey or some kind of sugar before you go to bed the night before a weigh-in, you're gonna float an extra pound overnight, okay? Because it's gonna spike your insulin and you're gonna drop weight. Everybody's like, what? You can eat ice cream before I weigh in? Yes, you can if you're following that 20% rule. If you're not, it's not gonna do any good at all. It's gonna hurt you, okay? But if you do that, you're gonna be fine. So.
A big scoop.
No quarts. But it's 2 bites. It's 2 spoonfuls of ice cream or 2 spoonfuls of honey, or even I've had kids that do Skittles if they didn't have that at home. A little bit of sugar. And again, I'm a nutritionist. I'm not telling you to eat that every day, but you will float more overnight if you've been good for 6 days, then had a little bit of sugar the night before, okay?
So when you're eating to compete the night before, okay, how you eat the night before is how you're going to perform the next day. Okay, so the one thing that I think we still battle with coaches and like having, you know, a pregame meal, even with football players, like I'm telling you, every sport it's this way. The night before we should be eating clean, okay? And unfortunately that's like chicken and rice, boring, white carbs, white proteins that are going to process faster, okay? We celebrate after. So we wait a little bit right after our match. We're not going to go out and eat burgers and do all the bad things there. We need to break back into our normal routine. And then the next day maybe is when we have a cheat meal. Because we are a sponge. So if you're making weight or you're obviously cutting back your calories and your body is a little bit depleted, it's kind of like people that fast. The first thing you break your fast with is what your body's going to absorb and suck and hold on to. So that's where we run into a lot of wrestlers that all of a sudden they're up 10 pounds after their first competition. It's because they overate. And it's going to stick harder, and it's going to be harder to take off. So always think about what you're eating before you compete. If you don't eat carbs on a regular basis throughout the week, like you should, carb loading doesn't exist. You can't just go and eat a big old plate of spaghetti the night before, because all it's going to do is make you more tired, okay? You need to be eating pasta and rice and potatoes throughout the week, so your body is used to carbohydrates, so that when you do eat a little bit extra the night before and load more carbs, your body actually could use that for energy, okay? So if you're a salad eater all week long and you're not eating carbs like you should be, then that's where those problems are going to come, okay? A lot of people misunderstand carb loading. That's not how it works. You have to make your body accustomed to carbohydrates before it will know what to do with them. So same with water. When food and water, when you don't eat it or don't drink it, your body doesn't release it, okay? So that's where girls especially, if you're not getting that 1 ounce per pound you weigh, minimum of 100 ounces, then you're not going to let that go, okay? 100 ounces of water weighs 6.25 pounds. If you had to cut half of that back and get rid of 3 pounds as a girl, that's huge, okay? So girls really, really, really got to dial that water in. And honestly, the super carb helps a ton to get hydration. There's not a ridiculous amount of like sodium or anything like that. It's just the right balance. It gives you a little flavor, so.
Parents, we do things opposite of what these kids need to do, okay? So we don't want the carb balanced tortillas. We want anything low carb, nothing low carb, okay? What we're trying to do is get the most amount of carbs and calories into the smallest amount of food that there is. If you buy a loaf of bread that has 7 carbs per slice and your kid needs to get 30 carbs at a meal, that's 4 or 5 slices of bread they have to eat to get that, right? As opposed to getting, as opposed to getting 1 slice of bread that has 24 carbs in it, they have to eat 1 slice of it. It's going to be a lot less volume, but they're going to get a lot more nutritional value out of it, okay? So everything that we do, think opposite when you're talking about an athlete or your kids that are performing. That's the complete opposite of what they need to do, okay? One other thing that Janae mentioned was salads. How many of you guys in here are salad eaters during the season? A lot? Nobody? This is good being back home because this is how I grew up. So salads, lettuce, fiber. The reason we cut those complex carbs back and the salads and the lettuce and that sort of thing is because that takes a long time to digest. And it's like, think about a salad. It's like eating wet grass clippings, and it just sits in your stomach for up to 2 days before it actually processes through you. And the way that I realize this is that when I go to nationals with Grandview, I have them send me a picture of their meal in between sessions so I know what they're eating. And one of the kids sent me this perfect sub sandwich, but it had lettuce all over it. It's like, oh my gosh, he can't eat that, or it's going to add a pound to his body weight for no reason. There's no nutritional value in lettuce whatsoever. So be smart about the stuff you're putting in. If there's no nutritional value in it, you shouldn't be putting it into your body. It's just a filler that you're going to use. That's not going to give you any energy on the mat, okay? We actually made shirts that said, you don't get a body like this eating salad. And it was one of the favorite shirts that the wrestlers had because they're always jacked and they don't like eating salads anyway. So, who's got questions?
I got it.
Yes.
So I've been following this guy, and I can't remember this thing. I actually talked to a dad, his daughter wrestles for Ames. And his thing is water, lime, lemon, honey. And you just said not to have citrus food. So what would, and I'm sure people have seen it, I can't think of his name right off the top of my head. What should I tell him? I like the guy, I want his daughter to have that performance. What's your thoughts on it?
Honestly, if they're making their homemade water concoction, all he's basically doing is making an electrolyte mix. And I'd be okay with that. Yep, because it's natural and everything that's going in there is going to be natural. And the lemon actually helps because lemon is going to be a little bit different because it stops you from getting cotton mouth, right? So most of us when we were younger, we would take lemon juice with us and squirt it in our mouth before our match, so kept your saliva going so you wouldn't get cotton mouth, especially when you're cutting your water back. So something like that I would be okay with, especially if it's not, if he's loading it with a whole, you're getting a little bit of lemon juice out there, you're not getting all of the acidity that's coming from
He was actually slicing it. They were
dropping it in there.
I think they put pinch salt in it too.
Yes, so they're making an homemade electrolyte mix is what they're making. Yep, I'd be okay with that. That's not terrible. Honey is a natural sugar from food, so that one's not going to be a bad one either, especially if they're not putting a ton in there. The one thing I will tell you is that when you're following this 20% rule, two things. 20% rule, you might need some extra sugar, okay? We're talking about weight management right now, but when you're going to compete, if you have a little bit of sugar, not a lot because you don't want that spike and then that crash, but if you start cramping, it's probably because your sugar is a little bit too low. So that would be one day where we could get a little bit of extra sugar in there. I've had it again where I've watched my kids down on the mat and I've run to the concession stand and got them a little bit of candy to have a little bit in between matches to get the sugar up a little bit so they stop cramping up, okay? That'd be the one time that you'd want to have some extra sugar.
I was just going to mention that, like, when I weighed in and got way too much weight and had a 2-liter Mountain Dew and a Snickers bar, that's probably not a good thing to do.
No, it's not a good thing to do. Well, leading into that, how many of you drink energy drinks? Most of you? A lot of you? Honestly? You can raise your hand if you are. Yeah. Okay. So this is a problem, and for multiple reasons. But the number one reason is because you're going to fatigue way faster, okay? So when you drink any kind of stimulant, caffeine or that kind of stuff, what does it do? Constricts your blood vessels, right? Constricts your blood vessels, which makes your heart rate increase, which makes you fatigue way faster. You already are going to get your heart rate up when you're on the mat, right? We don't need to do that before we get out there by drinking an energy drink, okay? It's a huge problem. If you guys are thinking about going to the next level to wrestle, which if you're here on a Sunday and you're in a club, more than likely your goal is to probably wrestle at the next level. You can only have 75 milligrams of caffeine in your body at the NCAA level to be actually legal. Otherwise, it's considered an illegal drug that you're putting in. So think about this for a second. If it's an illegal drug, why are we consuming it every day of our lives and putting it into our body, right? If you want a cup of coffee in the morning, about 75 milligrams of caffeine or something like that, great. Go get your Starbucks, do whatever you want, that's fine. But these energy drinks, they're full of heavy metals. We can tell, honestly, on the scale, the in-body scale, when the girls are drinking energy drinks because their inflammation goes sky high. And again, it's going to increase your fatigue. It's going to make your season a lot shorter, all that stuff. So if you can stay away from those energy drinks, please try and do that. Wean yourself off. If you're eating, I'm telling you, if you're eating 5 to 6 times a day, your energy is already going to be really, really high, okay? You won't need to have the extra caffeine in your body, but you will fatigue way faster, especially on a tournament day. I see a lot of kids walking around with a Celsius or a Monster or whatever brand it is, and I just cringe because I'm like, they're going to regret that come 1 o'clock in the afternoon when they still have 2 matches to go, okay? So if you can stay away from the caffeine and the stimulants, please do that. That's definitely a no-no, okay?
I will get on my soapbox about that. So not only are they bad for performance, but it's what it's doing to your heart, okay? Adults or kids, it's literally like providing too much stress on your heart. And the way they make them these days, Celsius is the worst. If you need an energy drink, I tell my clients, bubbler is your max, period. It's like 69 milligrams caffeine. You don't need any more than that. If you're that tired and fatigued, it's because your diet is garbage. You need more food, okay? So you do not need the energy drinks. They're expensive. They're a waste of time. And honestly, what it's doing to you internally is terrible, okay? That's first thing. Second thing, with foods, just buy simple food. Protein pasta does not need to exist, okay? Pasta is a carbohydrate, okay? If you're buying the stuff that has extra protein in it, do not. Use it up, get rid of it. Just buy regular pasta. Eat protein, eat a carb. Put them together, okay? Like there's no reason to have all this extra stuff. I really feel that, especially in the last like 4 or 5 years, when I have clients that are struggling to lose weight, it's because they're trying to eat so much protein in everything that it add extra ingredients and extra stuff that it causes you not to be able to like lose weight naturally or even like in a sport. So by the same token, protein bars, that kind of stuff, like the quality of that stuff is not good. It's basically like a candy bar. If you need something sweet, we need to figure something else out. And again, I have tons of ideas. We post stuff all the time about getting something sweet if you need it or having other options for getting protein in. But just limit the protein bars, like all of them. Like a Barbell protein bar, if you guys know what that is, it's like 300 calories. You're getting, I think, 18 to 21 grams of protein in it. They cook it, they bake it, they make stuff out of it. So really what your body absorbs is absolutely not as much as what they say on the label. There's only a few protein bars, and there's one. I actually ate part of one on the way here. It's called a David protein bar. It's 150 calories. It's 28 grams of protein. So you really have to look at your labels these days and what they're putting in it. If you can't read it or understand it, you probably shouldn't be eating it. Once you put it in, you can't get it out. So just stuff like that to consider. I think our world has become so confusing, and like all of the products that they put out there, that protein is chicken, beef, eggs, yogurt. Like, keep it simple. It doesn't have to be complicated, okay? And the stuff that we brought is to supplement. Like, not everybody can eat all their protein, and so that's what makes some of the stuff we do. We try to help and make it easier. So we did bring protein with us and the super carbs. So if anybody's interested, you're gonna get it way cheaper today. No shipping, no tax or anything. So if you're interested, we have that outside. Totally up to you guys. Not just thought I'd say I throw that out there too. So
I think you had a question.
Kind of along the same lines with energy drinks, I think the hooks are in pretty early with sports drink companies, and they're just pushing Gatorade and things like that. How do we kind of change that thought process? Obviously, this conversation is great, but with athletes specifically, we don't have to have that. We can have maybe like supercar or just making water the priority. I think a lot of times they do sell it, like we talk about in our school. Yeah, there's a vending machine not 10 feet from our wrestling doors that has Gatorade.
Yeah.
How do we?
The problem with that is it's a convenience thing, right? And so they make it really, really easy and simple for you to get it. And I was just at Wartburg last week, and there was a kid that had a Core Power drink on there, right? So she kind of touched on the pre-made stuff. Anything that's pre-made, so like this, you're getting the actual ingredients and you're going to mix them yourself and make them. Anything pre-made is loaded with preservatives, okay? Because they need a bigger shelf life on it. When it has a longer shelf life and it doesn't break down on the shelf, it doesn't break down in your body either. So when you're drinking this stuff, you're just drinking all these preservatives and it goes right through you, so you get no nutritional value. So honestly, as far as like breaking that habit or breaking that cycle, it doesn't take long when you try something like this, because you realize the difference in the energy that you feel, and you know what I mean, you're not as sluggish, that sort of thing, but it's not convenient. But I usually tell people if it's convenient, it's probably not good for you. Even like the protein bars, like she said, everything, you're trying to make the best choices you can with the information that we have, and there's so much information out there. I watch these influencers. I watch these girls eating these protein bars or the energy drinks and all this stuff. And what girls and boys both don't realize is that they're getting paid. That's not reality. And they're not out wrestling on the mat or doing that kind of stuff. They're at a salon getting their hair done, and you know what I mean? It's not real life. And so it's completely different. So for breaking that, the only thing you can really do at a school level is educate the AD on what they're really putting out there, and then having the school purchase something like this. Whether it's from us or somebody else, it's irrelevant. It's just that you have to make that transition. And I will tell you this, if the Class 5A schools in Des Moines have all switched from Gatorade to this, and this is why we came back here, is because this doesn't leak down to these small towns like I grew up in, and we didn't have any of this information, or nobody would come talk to us about any of this stuff. So for Coach to bring us in here, kudos to him, because this is the next step in it, right? Like knowing how to fuel your body and be healthy. And so that one is just more, it's education. You have to educate, you have to come in and tell these kids, why are you drinking that? Do you know what's in it? And then give them a comparison to show them. And then once they do it, once the teams try it and they see the success they have with it, there's no going back. Like, and so it's about as the best answer I can give you on that, on how to.
See, like Down, Johnson, Northwest, they've all gone away. They don't do like the Powerade programs, the Gatorade programs.
Nope, they still, so it's still in, they still use those, you might have to edit this too. Yeah, it's still in their, they use those coolers, but the trainers are mixing this before they go out there. Yeah.
I can verify that the day that Eaton and Lauren and I were there, when somebody came in and you'd already been bought out by Johnston, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Whatever flavor, their favorite flavor was gone
Yeah.
because Johnston had bought like 10
Oh
or
yeah, every Friday before football games, we get phone calls. Hey, we forgot, can you run it out here? Can we come down and get it? They do not. The way it happened, honestly, is that Coach Volmecki, I think we talked about this. If you guys are familiar with Volmecki, he was the Northwest coach for a long time, just retired last year. But he was also assistant coach of the football team. And so they played Dowling the first game out and cramped. Like, they had to stop the game every 5 minutes for cramps. And again, it's warm, first game of the season. But he went to Sam's Club and he had this cart, and he took a picture of it and he sent it to me. And he goes, is this okay to give to the kids? And it was bananas, Go-Gurt. It was basically a cart full of sugar. And I was like, all you're going to do is make it worse. I was like, just come to the store, get SuperCard, put all that stuff back. And they did, and they've never gone back. And once they did it, then the other school heard about it, then the other school heard about it, and it just has snowballed. So now, I mean, the schools in Des Moines are actually starting to put little supplement stores in their schools so the kids can purchase this kind of stuff. And that's where we're at there. But again, until you know, you don't know.
I just had a conversation with Brady Crane at Woodward.
Yeah.
This is just crazy, and I know more schools are gonna follow this. What has Woodward done at their campus?
As far as,
The cafeteria, the food, everything?
oh, yeah, you can tell them.
Well, their cafeteria now, like we have most of the football players and wrestlers, men's and women's teams are on a meal plan with us. So when they are logging their foods and everything, we program the whole school's cafeteria food in so they can actually see how much of the cafeteria food they can or cannot eat. But they're also, I mean, they're using the SuperCarb, they're using the glutamine, and obviously we go up and educate them a lot on what their choices are supposed to be making.
But they actually bought it in bulk, and they're now selling it to the students up there. And then the wrestling team can grab what they need. So yesterday, Sammy, which was just on your podcast, I don't know if you guys saw that or not. If you guys aren't watching his thing, you need to watch it because it's fantastic. But Sammy Lusk is the assistant wrestling coach for the girls at Wartburg now. She was one of our clients when she wrestled at Grandview. And then she worked for us for 2 years, and so she's up there now, and so she's kind of running the show and helping us with that kind of stuff. But they brought a whole supplement store up there, so everyone has access to the supplements now, and then they can actually sell it and make money to pay for. So instead of, how many of you guys have to do fundraising, right, for your whatever sport you're in, you have to do fundraising. This is a way that the kids can go to practice, not have to be out fundraising, which has now turned into the parents just putting on Facebook, hey, would you buy this for my kids? So they're not really getting it out of there anyway, but they actually have a supplement store that they're providing this kind of stuff for these kids, and especially when you got to eat those 5-6 meals a day, you need this handy. What she was talking about, just so you guys know what we do really quick, I'm going to touch on this for 2 minutes. We do customized meal plans. So when you come down, you get on this scale. Coach did a video of it again on the internet, so you can look at that there. But it's about 45 seconds, gives us all this information. Then we can sit down and figure out what's the right weight class based on how much muscle mass and where their body fat needs to be at. You girls should be at about 17% body fat at the beginning of the season, okay? If you're any lower than that, you're going to have to burn into muscle to make weight. And when we got to burn into muscle to make weight, the only way to get rid of muscle is to starve it off of you. When you starve muscle off, you go into conservation mode, it causes inflammation in your body, okay? So don't come in too low on your body fat. Guys, you should be at about 7% entering the season. And then when you're walking on the mat, you'll be at about 5%. Girls, you'll be at about 15%, okay? And again, you can be higher than that, no problem. I don't care if we're too high. I care if we're too low. If we're too low, you're going to struggle. And that's the biggest problem with wrestling. You go to a weight class that's too low for you, or your body fat's too low, and then you struggle to make weight, okay? And then you're counting on that allowance that we're getting. I can't wait till that gets here. I need that 2-pound allowance, right? But the goal is, I always tell my kids, certify at a weight below where you really want to wrestle. And then that way, if we get into practice and the season's going full time, you might drop a little bit more in the wrestling room. Then you have an option to go down there if you want to. Oh, there's no certification anymore? No?
You can go to your lowest weight class the day before.
Oh, we talked about that too. Yeah, day before. That's right. Well,
But then with the plan, we do follow-ups, so every 2 weeks, and depending on how that works, like, obviously there's a machine somewhere else accessible, we just need a scan every 2 weeks. But that's where also the charting the weight comes in handy. So we have clients like everywhere, like I have clients in North Carolina, and we communicate more about where their weight's at and stuff. So it's really the monitoring, and then if we need to change the plan. So it's not just getting somebody ready for at the beginning of the season, it's peaking at the end of the season, as Joey likes to say, so that we're at our best at the end of season instead of injured or sick. So that's the big thing with like what we do.
but once we go through that consultation and we figure out the right weight class and all that stuff, then the kids get an app on their phone, and it tells them exactly what they need to eat for breakfast, lunch, dinner, their snacks, whatever. When weight management days come, 2 days before a competition, their calories will automatically change for them, again, based on the data that we've gotten from them, so they know exactly what to eat going into making weight, and then they have a reload day after that. So their app automatically changes. They just have to put in for us when they're competing, so we know exactly when to start the weight management part of it, and then we're good to go. Then we have a computer that we sit back, and every time they enter their food, we can look at it. I can see exactly everything that they ate, and then we start cleaning stuff up, okay? So basically how it works is for the first 2 weeks, to let you guys eat whatever you want. Just hit your macros, your carbs, your proteins, and your fats, okay? And then we come back for our assessment and we look at breakfast. And I'm like, okay, we need to get rid of this. We need to change this. We need to change this. But then you learn what works best. Because again, like for me, I can tell you right now, oatmeal is the best thing that you can eat for breakfast from a health perspective and a nutrition perspective. But for me, it causes inflammation, so I'm better with Eggo waffles. Everybody's different. So just because I tell you guys this is what you should eat doesn't mean that you specifically should be eating that. So it might be something different for you. And that's what we find out, what your body responds the best to. So the other thing we do is I'll have you, for 1 week, I'll be like, hey, have white rice tonight for dinner. Let's see what happens with your inflammation when you come in, okay? Then the next week, I'm gonna say, hey, let's have potatoes for dinner this week. And then we can start identifying the foods that your body is gonna respond the best. It's gonna load your gas tank up the most. And it's, you don't have to eat that way the whole time, but we know 2 days out from a competition, hey, we need to switch to pasta, or hey, we need to switch to white rice, or we need to switch to this, because it's gonna put the most gas in our tank. So we start identifying that. So we really break it down and fine tune that kind of stuff. And again, I tried to give you guys some guidelines if you're not working with us, but if you come work with us, then we get it down to the exact gram that you need to be eating. And you don't have to be perfect. And again, that cheat meal, Jenny started talking about that. If you guys have a tournament on Saturday, don't go out for pizza or cheat meal Saturday night, okay? Your body's in conservation mode, A, because you exerted a bunch of energy when you were on the mat during the tournament, and B, you probably had to manage your weight for a couple days leading up to that, so your body's in conservation mode. So don't go Saturday night after a tournament. Wait until Sunday. Sunday would be a much better night, or whatever day. It depends on when you're competing, obviously. I'm just using that as an example. But you don't want to do a cheat meal the day of a competition, okay? You want to wait till the day after. But that's going to reload your glycogen. It's going to reset your metabolism. It's going to do wonders for you. And your kids, so you can build in. Everybody asks about Christmas and Thanksgiving. Like all that stuff is pretty healthy. It's turkey, potatoes. You got to watch the pumpkin pie and the desserts and stuff like that. But you can actually eat pretty healthy over Thanksgiving. The biggest one is Christmas, okay? When everybody else goes home to grandma's and are eating all the food that she says, eat more, your skin and bones. We all know what grandmas do, right? So we need to monitor our food a little bit over Christmas and make sure that we're putting on muscle instead of fat. That's our chance to get better halfway through the season where everybody else is going backwards. And if you know what to eat, you can just increase it a little bit, gain 2 pounds of muscle in that time period, and then you're gonna be stronger when you come back. But be careful over Christmas vacation. That's the big pitfall during the wrestling season, okay?
For Coach and I'm you're probably someone that decide, hey, I'm gonna go vegan, but for us to help manage, you're gonna help me out with a few things, just some basic ideas and a spreadsheet. So we can maybe help them monitor their weight.
Yep.
I mean, we aren't gonna be the experts, but at least we can see maybe where they're at.
Absolutely. And and then you guys can call me up and be like, hey, what do we need to do here? And we can help you with that. So again, there's a charge for what we do, but I am happy to help anybody back here. If you're working with Troy, we've become friends over the last month, and this has been great getting reacquainted. So anybody around here that I can help, like I said, I'm from Kyron, Iowa, a town of 200 people. So I love coming back here and helping kids to get better at this sport especially. So, and this translates into every sport you do. No matter what sport you're in, you have to feel your body correctly. The one thing we didn't talk about is sleep and the phones. Honestly, it's just me lecturing to you at this point because your parents probably already tell you this. But once it gets to be 8, 9 o'clock at night, I know that's probably the time you want to talk with your friends and everything. Put the phones down, get a good night's sleep, stay on this consistent routine, okay? The season is short. Wrestling season's 3 months? You guys work your butts off all year long for the season to get here. So don't sabotage yourselves by staying up till 1 o'clock in the morning when you got to compete the next day or that kind of thing.
If you don't sleep, you can't lose.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true.
Yeah, it's when your body is recovering, repairing itself. It's when your metabolism is kicking back in. All that stuff happens at nighttime while you're sleeping. So always at least, get a solid 6 to 7 hours of sleep minimum, okay? Am I doing this a lot? I'm sitting down, so I don't know what to do with my hands.
Does anybody have any questions? Yeah, he's a hand talker.
I'm like Gavin Newsom right now, yeah.
Do you guys have any questions or anything? Any questions at all?
Is there anything extra you would like to give advice to vegetarian kids?
Vegetarian kids?
We have at least one sitting over there that
Yep.
doesn't eat anything with the face.
Yep.
That's tough.
It's harder. It's a lot harder. I can't sugarcoat this. There's ways to do it. The problem with that is it's hard to get your metabolism going, right? And it's hard to build muscle mass because you're getting all of your protein from a vegetarian source, which is going to be less amino acids than would be in meat or something like that. So you technically have to eat about double the amount of food to get the same amount of absorption of protein. So for example, remember when I said This absorbs 100% and eggs absorb 100%. If you're getting your protein through, say, soy or something like that, it only absorbs at 49%. So technically you'd have to eat twice the amount to get the protein absorption that you would from a meat source or a animal source of protein like that. The other part is that there's always carbs associated with the protein source. You always have carbs in there. So it's really hard to get a protein in. Now, a vegan protein shake would be better. Same thing though, you have to double the scoop up to get the right amount of protein to absorb into your system. It's just a harder way to do it. It is doable, it's just a lot harder to manage your weight. The good part about that is that you get extra carbs all the time, so you raise that carbs thing, so your gas tank is usually pretty good. The one thing that we struggle with sometimes with the vegetarian diet is getting the amount of muscle mass on you. So that's really important to get to the right weight class to make sure if you get that figured out. So is this your daughter? Yeah. Okay. So she came down, we had a great visit. Hopefully you took some stuff away from that, and we tried to give her some ideas when we were down there. But vegetarians, we don't run into a lot in wrestling. But anything that you have that you need me to look at, you can send me a label and we talked about this. You send me a label anytime, and I'll go over it with you and figure out what's the best stuff for you to put into your body. Yeah.
You talked about like protein pasta. Is that still bad?
No, so for like in your situation, that would be ideal because that's a good way for you to get extra protein in on top of the vegetarian sources that you're getting already. So anything for a vegetarian, vegan, any of that kind of stuff, any kind of extra protein that you get in is going to be a benefit for you, honestly. Yep. Yeah? Well, thank you for having us. And like I said, I'll give Coach information. Am I doing this again?
No, she's going to clap for you.
Oh, that was nice of you.
Yeah, we'll get them information.
I'm going to get you guys some ideas for food. We'll give you good carbs, bad carb options. It'll be about 3 or 4 handouts that we'll send to him, and he can give them to you guys so you have everything. We'll put our contact information on there. If you guys ever are down in Des Moines or you want to come down and work with us, just give me a call, and we'll get you scheduled to come in. Or if you're coming through Des Moines, stop in. We'll get you on the scan, say Troy is your coach, and we'll do it for free. We'll get you at least an assessment so you know what your numbers are at and where you need to be at or what you need to work on. Like Janae said, I did bring protein and super carb. How much are those?
$39.35.
$39.35. We have every flavor of super carb, which is raspberry lemonade, orange mango, pineapple, and then protein. She brought chocolate.
Chocolate, vanilla, peanut butter cookie, and cafe latte.
Cafe latte is amazing. So this is, I know you guys don't have a lot of options around here right now for supplements. And again, we ship everything. So if there's something you guys like, we'll give them to you, and we'll give them to you at a discount since you're working with Troy. So normally those are 54.
42 maybe?
Yeah. So we're giving you guys a good discount if you want to try them. If not, no big deal, but I brought them just in case. So, cool? Yeah, yeah. All right. Thank you all for coming.